Hello dear friends, hope you're doing well. First video of Thursday, and this one's about Incursions. Now later on, very exciting, the Incursions buff is coming. We're going to be going over in this video a breakdown from what was posted early this morning UK time, or late, whatever time, whatever, wherever you are in the world. We've also got a spreadsheet which I'll put a link to in the description. Going to go over some totals. So a little bit of everything is going to be covered in this video. Let's get right into it. Boom, because we got a lot, and the spreadsheet is going to go with things like totals of 6-star shards, totals of artifacts, totals of gold, spend scenarios, how far you need to grind in order to get something. I put a bit of effort into that particular spreadsheet, so we'll go over that in a second. But let's get down to business. So we know solo Incursions is coming. That's very exciting for a lot of players. Handy in certain aspects, maybe not in others. It does depend. I do enjoy the duos, and I still continue to play with people that I enjoy playing with. When I'm kind of like queuing up for stuff. There may be times I'll go, oh, I'll do sector, I don't know, sector 7 by myself, possibly. But I like the idea of doing sector 8. And there's a lot of things to kind of take into consideration, like will the level of difficulty for sector 8 and sector 7 replicate that of, for whatever reason, where you are in the game with progression? Because of time is going to be a crucial factor in whether Incursions is a thumbs up or just a kind of like, it's okay. And it's positive that what the changes are. Let's go into it. As we know, it's no Ultron, it's infamous Iron Man. And solo Incursion, simple select solo button. I've seen that in kind of action. There is a thing saying solo thing, so you just click it. Summoners are now able to play Incursions without relying on co-op partner. Solo or duo entry to collect from the same reward pool, so you don't feel punished if you do duos. And solo mode will only have 2 paths instead of 4. Which I think is good. It's kind of like good for time saving. And look, I'm not knocking like solo. I think it's amazing that it's in. But then it's like it takes away the camaraderie aspect. And it's like MCOC doesn't have anything co-op or camaraderie based. Yeah, you could argue stuff with Alliance, but nothing's really been changed with Alliance Wars and Alliance Quest. We've talked about stuff like Alliance Raids in the past, and other types of game modes we could have. Like, there's no PvP in this game. It's only PvPE or PvPAI, whatever. But it's not like, it's not what we kind of like think of a co-op aspect. And maybe the game's not meant to be or have a co-op aspect to it. Who knows? But the rework of the rewards is very important, because now we've got a 6-star Incursions crystal being added, bonus layer to the game mode. There's an Alliance event. We'll go over that in a minute, and how that is okay, but it's not overly amazing. It depends on the rotation of the Alliance event. But it's kind of like Kabam with Battlegrounds are kind of not forcing you, but it's encouraging you more to get involved with some of these game modes from what it gives back as a result. But sadly, the kind of the encouragement to return back to do Incursions for what you get from an Alliance event isn't really substantial. We'll talk about that in a second. Artifacts can now be found predominantly in the zones, so they're in the zones as opposed to the milestone resettings on a 5-day rotation, which is good in some ways. Reward structure has been shifted to more meaningful reward summoners who push into later zones, and they are spicy. And Incursion store will shift to a 30-day refresh cadence, which is good because it means that there's a lot of artifacts to spend the further you go and grab them. Right, we'll go over the totals in a second, but there's a lot of things kind of like bringing a picture of, especially because the 6-star Incursion crystal, which has a purchase limit of 3, costs 81,000 artifacts a time. That's a lot. Now, there could be some good things and bad things to this, okay? So currently in game at the moment, which I've got up on screen, in the Incursion store, if these Incursions crystals replicate, again, all the time with Kabam we have to go with if we're getting something like a 6-star stun immunity crystal, and that's 81,000 of your dark artifact, Incursion artifacts, then you will have an option, you'll have a chance to get a selection of champions from a limited pool. Now, I don't know if it is going to replicate this, because then it says, like, we got Annihilus, Apocalypse, Bishop, Diablo, Emma Frost, Iceman, Juggernaut, Sasquatch, The Hood, and Nick Fury. So that's a 10 champ limited pool, and that can be really, really good to elevate a roster if you fall on something that is spicy. If you don't, then it's going to seem like 81,000 artifacts at a loss. Again, we'll look at the totals in a minute. So there's so many other things as well to kind of put in a picture of. Let's go to my spreadsheet now, which, as I said, link is in the description down below. Got two tabs to it. It's got artifacts, zones, and rewards. Final total. The second tab is final totals and spend interest. Okay, so the first thing is that there are multiple sectors, as you can see. Sector 9, Sector 8, Sector 7, Sector 6. And they all add up, okay? So Sector 6, I've just thrown in for hell's sake, but I'm really focusing on the Tier 1, which is the Sector 8, 9, 8, and 7. So 9, 8, 7, the Tier 1 is what I'm really focusing this video on. But for Sector 6, you can get an idea of there's 28,746. And then by doing Sector 9, 71,832, doing Sector 8 all the way through to the end zones of 35,738, Sector 7, 32,054, okay? We're going to come back to the totals because, again, people might say, well, I'm not going to be able to get like all the zones, and that's fine. I'm going to be kind of helping out towards that in a minute as to a perspective. But if you're able to do up to Zone 20, where you get artifacts, in Sector 9, 8, and 7 is 139,624 artifacts per rotation, so effectively per month, so to speak. Now, on the reward side of things, it differs. Let's bring Sector 9 into the focus point, and there are Tier 3 Alpha fragments, Tier 6 Basic fragments, a 6-star Signature Stone crystals, and 6-star Awakening gems. Only one you get from that. Okay, and it goes up to 25 zones. So from a shard perspective, you want to see that you're taking home. Now, Sector 9 only gives 10k 6-star shards, which you can see on screen. 45,000 Tier 3 Alpha, I think that's one fully formed, and Tier 6 Basic. So it's basically one full Tier 6 Basic and one full Tier 3 Alpha. And as well, we've got 60 Signature Stone crystals and one Awakening gem crystal. That's pretty cool to put in there. There's probably going to be a response. The response to this, like, I'm sure is going to be like, well, I'm not going to be able to get that, or this might be too difficult. Again, I've got you covered with something with that in a second, but there's something really cool that's being kind of put in, and there's no limits now on stuff. So maybe Kabam are looking to, like, for you to be spending your resources in order to get further. Now, that could be seen as a good investment to get down to Zone 25 and say you've had to, I don't know, spend between Zone 18, for example, and Zone 25 and Sector 9, you've been spending 100 units per, like, last 5. So it could be like you spent 500 units. If you're spending 500 units and getting one fully formed Tier 6 Basic, Tier 3 Alpha, and Awakening Gem, then you might feel that that's that extra bit of value investment. But at the same time, it could be a bit of a piss take of you in general. Again, like, because Kabam have set, not if they've removed it, which where they said they removed it. 6-star posts will be removing zone item use limitations. So you basically can whale your way, spend your way, unit your way to the finish line if you so choose. And as I said, that may be an option for people. If you are spending less than the cost of a Tier 3 Alpha, Tier 6 Basic than you normally would elsewhere, this could be seen as an advantage to you and your roster. It could also, if you had access as a Point of a Thronebreaker player to this particular, difficulty, you might be able to get yourself that next rank 4 6-star. You may be close. You may use it as an option. So there's options there for it. But as I said, we need to go back to that point I mentioned, which was you may not be able to get as far as Zone 25 in Sector 9 and kind of thinking to yourself, right, well, what are my options? And again, we're going to have a look at that in a minute. So one of my focuses is going to be on Sector 7 and Sector 8. The reason being is that this may be less of a difficulty for the roster strength that I have and will be a good starting platform to get myself 6-star shards, 5-star shards and artifacts very, very easily. Especially if I'm able to reach Zone 15 of both of them. And again, we'll look at scenarios if you're not able to reach Zone 15 on both of them. But you can see if you're able to do Sector 7, Sector 8, you will have over, that's right, over 12,000, we have 12,500, over 12,000, 12,500 6-star shards and 35,000 5-star shards for your trouble, which is good. We'll talk about final totals and spread of spend in a second, but those are the points there. You can check out the spreadsheet, as I said, link in the description down below. It's Google Drive link. But what of gold? Okay, gold is another thing that is very important to players. This is where the rotation happens, in that we don't have a 5-day reset on artifacts and stuff like that and feeling like you can overly grind it and things to get artifacts back. It's gold. 5-day reset is every 5 days you can get 850, I need to double check that, 850,000, is it 850,000? I'm pretty certain it is. Yeah, 850,000 from tier 1 milestone on a 5-day reset of gold. Now that is more than it was before. I'm pretty certain it is more on those tier 1. Now tier 2, it is 700,000, tier 3, 600,000. Do bear in mind the tier that you're in is going to be representative of your roster strength and the amount of champions you have within it. Okay, there is the Alliance event, which only give, and this is where it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 25. Like it's not a huge amount there. It is just a case that that's just over 100 and something thousand gold. Look, if you're getting the points, you're getting the points. It is easy to achieve. It does give some extra gold back into the community. But I would say that it doesn't really represent, you know, where we are with the current meta, especially with Paragon players. And something to mention with that is if you want to do the reset the 5-day, you will have to go further into something like Sector 9 in order to achieve the volume of points you require, because it's like it requires a lot of points to kind of like get there with it. Yeah, so like you the further like room you go, like the further the amount of points, so you will have to kind of grind in order to get it. So you may want to spread your grind of incursions, going 1 week I'll do incursions, next reset I'll do incursions, and next reset I'll do incursions. So like you're doing it over 3 weeks as opposed to blasting it out within you know, a week, because it may not be advantageous for you for take home of gold. And as I said, we're going to get to the point of what if you're not able to get all the milestones. And now we come to the final point, which is, what if you can't get all the zones, but you want to take home something that's nice? Well, first of all, just putting in perspective the final totals of the shards. So if you're able to do Sector 9, all the difficulties of sectors, which I think is 15 on all of them, it could be 20. 22,500 6-star shards for doing all of Tier 1, Sector 7, 8 and 9. 5 stars, 35,000 total, which we said about earlier. But store buys and grind required. As I put here, to get 81,000 of the incursion artifacts, you will need to do up to Zone 9 of Sector 9, Zone 15 of Sector 8, and Zone 15 of Sector 7, right? That's like, you have to do that in order to kind of get yourself a 6-star incursion crystal. Now, that may not be the best thing to do unless you're hunting for something of a limited pool of that 10 that we've seen in the crystals in the video earlier. Now you have two scenarios when it comes to the 6-star crystal. If you want to get a 6-star crystal, what do? Well, if you do all the zones in Tier 1, which is 139,000, that's over 2 6-stars you can purchase from that store a month. So that's great. 54,000 times 2 is 108,000. You will have some remainder over, and that's great. That will see you through to the next month. So, hey, thumbs up. The next time it resets these top zone bonuses. But that may not be what everyone can achieve. So if you are like a low player, maybe like you want a quick smash and grabs, I refer to, then you've got another scenario where you do Sector 2 of, so you do Zone 2 of Sector 9, Zone 11 of Sector 8, and Zone 15 of Sector 7. And that is kind of like a quick, like get in and grab, and that could be your grind for the month in order to achieve a 6-star if you want to start getting 6 stars. And obviously the cost is 54,000, it's not 81,000. So that's something to consider as well. So it may be an option for you, it may not be. And as well, with the 7 stars coming in, you may want to kind of dupe more often in order to start hoarding 7-star shards. So yeah, if you also want to get a 6-star as well as, you know, from the store, you can go and grab shards from going and grinding in the zones. So if you do Sector 8, Sector 7, Sector 8 up into Zone 12, and Sector 7 up into Zone 15. It will be 5,100 6-star shards in Sector 8, 5,000 6-star shards Sector 7, 10,000 and 10,100 6-star shards total. So that could be your option of how you get in Incursions 2 6-stars a month for a small amount of grind, less stress of a grind, and stuff like that. So yep, there we go. That's basically it. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to just kind of cut that there. All of it is explained in a spreadsheet. Those are some totals and some information. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you later on. Maybe live streaming this, maybe not. Time is going to be an issue. I may do a kind of playthrough on the CCP server. I don't know. In any case, thanks for watching. Check out some other content, and I'll see you very soon, whenever that'll be. Bye-bye.